Fulgora, the most electrifying planet in Factorio. Welcome back to this space-age death world. I'm playing my own mod, AVADII Rebalance, which makes the game much harder. It cuts down productivity significantly and nerfs most space-age technologies. Today we will set up a starter base here on Fulgora to unlock Tesla weapons and the electromagnetic plant. And in the second half of the video we will transform the Nauvis base into a fully fledged train base with over 100 trains. After landing on Fulgora, we utilize accumulators to store the lightning energy. Crafting lightning collectors is essential to not get hurt. Fortunately, I can import productivity modules, cliff explosives and big mining drills, since we've already conquered volcanoes in the last episode. This little island contains a very large scrap depot. Even though over 20 million scrap is perfect for a starter base, this island is way too small. Right now I'm simply recycling scrap to gain resources for handcrafting and setting up a small mall. It's easier to import bots from Nauvis, but I like to craft them on site, since lubricant is basically free on this planet. Using circuit logic, this single assembler will craft the most important items. I can define which items to craft and the quantity with this constant combinator. The starter base will require fast transport belts. That's why I'm using this foundry to craft them. With Rebalance, the foundry has 30% extra productivity, down from 50. That's of course still more efficient and faster than assemblers. The island is way too small, that's why we will deploy a train and elevated rails to transport the scrap to a larger island. Fortunately, this seed has a beautiful large island in the north. If you're not satisfied with your starting area, just go scout and search for a suitable large island. There are no enemies on Fulgora, so take your time. This is a very short rail connection, but there's no other way to cross the oil ocean here on Fulgora. Let's now set up the train, nothing special. 2 locomotives facing different directions and 2 wagons. Recycling scrap yields solid fuel, perfect to power those locomotives. Fortunately, the small scrap island is at least large enough to build a proper loader. We can't connect these islands with power poles, which is why each island needs dedicated accumulators to store energy. Let's go back to the main island to build the unloader. Right now I'm using normal regular yellow belts, but later on I will upgrade to turbo belts. To deal with the scrap I will use my patented Sushi belt solution, which relies on this splitter combination to take items from the Sushi belt without clogging up when the outgoing belt backs up. I'm using parameterization to make the blueprint easy to set up for all products. Crafting efficiency modules is very important on Fulgora, since electricity is always a concern. I will only very briefly explain how this system works, because I've already made 2 very detailed video guides about this. In short, we recycle scrap and then there's a loop. Items that make it through the loop will then be recycled again. And they re-enter the loop with splitter priority. This prevents this Sushi belt setup from clogging up. We can then take items from the belt with inserters or with a special splitter combination. To make recycling more efficient, I want to get rid of a couple of items immediately. I want to turn gears into iron plates and steel into steel chests. Concrete into hazard concrete. Steel chests and hazard concrete have a very fast recycling time. Taking items with the splitter, I already make water, holmium solution and holmium plates, which allows me to craft the first electromagnetic plant. Get rid of the assembler immediately and craft more EM plants with EM plants. Last episode I made a mall blueprint for assemblers. Same concept, but this time using EM plants. Usually I'm not a player who covers the floor with concrete. This time, however, I wanted to make a change. By using the splitter to take stone from the Sushi belt, plus heavy oil, which is free, and holmium solution, we are now producing electrolyte. By taking copper and plastic from the belt, we can make superconductors. I'm transporting the holmium plates with a bot network. In the middle of the base there's a pipe main bus for all the liquids. Up north I'm already using water for heavy oil cracking, since superconductors require light oil. Now having superconductors, we can proceed and craft supercapacitors. They require green circuits and batteries from the Sushi belt. Once again using the splitter combination to take items from the Sushi belt without clogging up. And then finally the Fulgora science pack. On the left we will make accumulators, and on top there will be a rocket silo dedicated to the transportation of the science pack. It won't fulfill other orbital requests. Fulgora is probably the easiest planet to make rocket parts. Blue circuits and LDS are a product of scrap recycling. And rocket fuel can be made with light oil only, which only requires water since heavy oil is free. Just like lubricant, which is free as well. We needed to craft electric engines. Crafting a rocket silo requires 200 and we also need more bots. Just like that, the starter base is up and running, producing the electromagnetic science pack, which can now be launched into orbit. Of course, we also want to export electromagnetic plants. They will make production on Nauvis and volcanoes way more efficient. 30% extra productivity and an additional module slot compared to assemblers. These EM plants provide plus 42% extra productivity. Of course, we also want to get rid of the old red circuit assemblers and replace them with EM plants. The first Fulgora science packs arrived on Nauvis. After mining productivity level 8, we will research blue circuit productivity. But with rebalance, each level only provides plus 5% extra productivity. For the remainder of this episode, steel will be the bottleneck of the Nauvis base. We are now utilizing beacons to speed up the production. Because of the calcite nerfs, I didn't switch to foundries on Nauvis yet. The new smelting block to the right will also help. And at this point I would love to see turbo belts on Nauvis. So let's hop over to Volcanus and set up production. This small subfactory for express belts and then turbo belts is more than sufficient. The twice as expensive rocket launchers are the bottleneck, which is why utilizing EM plants on Volcanus to increase circuit productivity is very important. We urgently need more nuclear energy. Utilizing EM plants raises electricity consumption. The accumulators run out of energy during the night. This 120 megawatt reactor will fix the issue and enables us to build even more EM plants, this time for green circuits. Meanwhile on Fulgora I realized that I can actually connect another island to the main island. That's even more space for accumulators and there's actually a scrap depot with around about 500,000 scrap. I'm already trying to get rid of the scrap on the main island, just a couple 100,000. It's time to build another train-based subfactory. This one will be for green circuits, 2 unloading stations for the required ingredients and better belts from Volcanus to handle the throughput. Based on rate calculator, this subfactory will output a full turbo belt full of green circuits. Bottom of the screen I built a generic loading station with the name wildcard symbol load. I won't go into the details on how this train system works, because I extensively explained it last episode. Meanwhile on Fulgora we are preparing a second train to transport the scrap from the new island to our main base. In comparison with my previous Space Age playthroughs, we are mining and depleting way more scrap. That's exactly what I wanted to achieve when making the mod. This scrap outpost won't last very long. And that's how it should be in Factorio. The Fulgora base is completed, so it's time to send the engineer back to Nauvis. I can easily set up subfactories in remote view, but in order to obliterate biter nests and expand the perimeter, using the engineer and Tesla weapons is recommended. Electric weapons damage level 3 and 4, that's plus 140% damage. I'm using the Maul blueprint to make Tesla guns, turrets and ammo. The Tesla gun is incredibly strong. It chains and forks through enemies and spawners. For total devastation we combine all weapons. Artillery fire, defender capsules, a couple personal lasers and the Tesla gun. Using this combination of weapons we spread democracy to a very large peninsula in the south. This entire area has been cleared. That's a lot of space for rails and new subfactories. A temporary array of Tesla turrets prevents biters from expanding into the cleared area. South of our uranium processing, I want to construct a gigantic nuclear reactor, because Tesla turrets draw 1 megawatt each, continuously. And we most likely need 200 or so to defend the entire factory. This is a 40-core, 6.2 gigawatt nuclear reactor design. It will take quite a while to produce and construct all of these turbines, heat exchangers and nuclear reactors. While we fight and expand further, the bot network will take care of construction. I have to be really careful to not get wrecked at this point. Behemoth biters, spitters and worms are very dangerous. The defender capsules lose more and more effectiveness. To properly connect the perimeter to the main base, we expand the rail network. The blueprints include a substation grid. To prepare further expansion, I fired nests with artillery, triggering counterattacks. No big deal for our upgraded Tesla turrets. The nuclear reactor is still under construction. Next up, clearing the area to the east. This is quite cumbersome and a struggle now. I should have upgraded the now useless defender capsules to destroyer capsules. Nevertheless, I managed to get the job done. The southeast Tesla perimeter has been built. We also try to expand south, this time with more artillery fire, obliterating the counterattacks with Tesla turrets. This expansion was necessary because there's a beautiful crude oil patch. After refactoring the uranium processing, the 6.2 GW nuclear reactor is finally completed. 40 reactors and a massive block of turbines. After adding another iron ore expansion, it's finally time to build a dedicated subfactory for oil processing. It features 5 train stops, 2 incoming products, crude oil and water, and the 3 outgoing products, light oil, petroleum gas and lubricant. The obvious question, why am I transporting water? Well, because I can, and I really want to. This is the water loading station. After building the final piece of rail, trains will automatically arrive and fill all slots. I think the subfactory looks beautiful at night and in map view. Okay, moving on, we also want to clear the northern part of this map. Since defender capsules are now too weak, I'm upgrading to destroyer capsules. They deal electric damage and are completely unstoppable. At this time I don't need artillery anymore to prepare these attacks. I don't want to be too greedy, but the electric damage is insane. Okay, the expansion was successful, so let's build a new northern perimeter. Finally, the last expansion for today, in the northeast. We just have to get rid of a handful of biter nests, and then let our bots build the northeastern defense. I want to produce every product in its own subfactory. And of course we use trains for all transportation. To make all new parts of the base accessible with trains, we have to expand the rail network. This new subfactory features 2 train stations for incoming liquids. Gas and water will turn into sulfur. Then we combine the sulfur, iron and water to make sulfuric acid in this new subfactory. I do have blueprints for train station names, but every subfactory has a custom-made train station system. Looks a bit more organic than having the exactly same train stations everywhere. From time to time, ore patches deplete and can then be removed. This is obviously a plastic subfactory. I left a lot of open space to later expand production. Now that we have plastic trains, we can continue making red circuits. For the copper cable production, I am directly inserting into the electromagnetic plant from the train station's unloading chests. Based on the previous products, I guess you can already imagine what the next subfactory will be. Yeah right, the blue circuit production. The station for green circuits has a train limit of 2, since the required throughput for green circuits is so high. In the north of the base we produce engines. Combustion engines to the left and electric engines to the right. Meanwhile on Volcanoes we are about to deplete the initial coal patch. To get more coal we also want to utilize trains, which is why I have to produce all train related products in the mall. This new Nauvis copper expansion features direct insertion into the cargo wagons. Iron and steel is the bottleneck on Nauvis. To keep up the production, we are now mining this new iron ore patch. And to increase production, I'm now using beacons and upgraded belts. We will build our labs on the southern peninsula. On the right, we are constructing a subfactory for red and green circuits. Each science pack will have its own unloading station. And each station has room for 2 trains. The new production of the red and green science pack has already started. On Volcanus we are also running out of tungsten ore. The nearest expansion is guarded by a demolisher. There's a 3 million tungsten patch and 4 million coal. We already researched 1 level of artillery damage, which makes this endeavor a bit more reliable. To reach the tungsten patch we have to kill another one. I think we only needed 12 artillery shells. Artillery is the best method to remove demolishers, because it's reliable and works perfectly in remote view. Even though I have cliff explosives, I'm utilizing elevated rails to connect the outpost to the main base. Since copper started to become a bottleneck, I added another smelter on the right, and beacons to speed up production even more. With AVADII Rebalance, resource patches actually deplete, which is why finding new ones and setting up a new mining outpost is necessary. That was kind of unheard of in Space Age. That's also why we are now mining on this 7 million iron ore patch. Because the train limit is 2, there's already another train waiting in line. On Volcanus we've completed building the tungsten ore outpost. I'm still using productivity modules for mining. Tungsten and coal trains share the same track for a while. In the late game I will switch to the same train system, currently only used on Nauvis. This is the first Golden Science Pack train, arriving at our southern research and lab facility. Making Golden Science Packs required to research mining productivity significantly increases resource consumption. Now having reached mining productivity level 18, we can enjoy a nice plus 90% productivity boost. In vanilla it would of course be plus 180%. Now that all dedicated subfactories are up and running, I can start deconstructing the old main base. Time to say goodbye to this mess of a spaghetti base. There are 2 types of players in Factorio. Those who immediately get rid of the crashed spaceship and those who want to preserve it. Which type are you? The old oil processing has to go as well. And the old train that previously supplied the nuclear reactor. I replaced it with 2 stations using the new train system. The stations for the iron and sulfuric acid trains have priority. Oh, and I forgot, over here in the east is the subfactory for military science, featuring 5 train stations. It would be easier to build the cargo landing pad near our labs. But hey, the goal of this run is to use as many trains as possible. Which is why I am transporting the planetary science packs and calcite to this central train station. Each science pack and calcite has its own train. Speaking of calcite, instead of transporting it with a bot network, I'm also utilizing a train. Currently I'm using calcite only to make some additional steel. But of course in the late game I want to fully switch to liquid metal smelting. Since calcite consumption is doubled and rocket launches are more expensive, I'll probably supply Nauvis with calcite farmed in space. There are a couple of subfactories I haven't shown you. Let's start with the Golden Science subfactory over here. Blue Science, which is really small because all ingredients are made in their own subfactories. Then there's the production of rocket fuel, which only requires incoming light oil trains. I also constructed 16 additional sleep stations, which means we now have a block in the north and here in the south. Moving on, I haven't shown you the Purple Science subfactory. That's 7 stations for the incoming products and on top a loading station for the finished science packs. Finally, this is our low density structure subfactory. Most likely the best candidate to switch to foundries in the next episodes. But even more importantly, we want to go to Gleba and unlock biolabs. Plus the technology to farm calcite in space. At this point we have 144 trains. 109 for items and 35 for liquids. I'm very satisfied with the result and I can't wait to set up a starter base on Gleba. Thank you so much for watching. If you can afford it, please consider a membership on Patreon. Rare supporters have access to all of my save games. See you next episode. Bye.